And so when we want to take charge of our lives, we need to write down what it is we're doing. Yes, it's important. But I don't want to. Well, you may not want to, but you want your life to be better? Then you need to keep track of what you're doing. So let's look at these 10 things. I believe that God gives us the time to accomplish everything He wants us to accomplish. But first off, just like you were going to go on a diet, many times they tell you to write down a journal what it is you're eating. That's important. And when you eat and why you eat. Just so it is very important that we write down what we're doing. Get it down someplace. Some people say, oh, I have a long to-do list. I said, yes, and do you know when you're going to do those things? No. Well, I keep telling my husband I need him to do this, and then. Have you planned time to do any of those things? No. It's so interesting to me how many times women want to spend time doing the things, certain things, and yet they haven't planned them into their lives. If something isn't planned in your life, most likely it's not going to happen. It might. Sometimes it does. But the things we really want to get done that are important to us, we set aside time to do. So how are we going to do that? First off, you need to find a calendar you like. I know many of you use your phone. Many of you do. My husband loves to use his phone because they can coordinate it with his computer. I tried for a year and a half to use my phone to keep track of all the things I was doing. And it didn't work well for me. I like to keep too many notes. I like to keep too many details. And I'd write notes and then I couldn't find them. Or I'd think I was going to do something on a certain day and it would change. And then I'd have to try to get rid of that repeating system and I couldn't do that. But if that works for you, please use it. I know so many people now love to have their phone. I just talked with a girlfriend yesterday who was in the hospital, and we were trying to talk about sometime when she got out later in the month that we could get together for lunch or dinner. And she said, well, let me grab my phone. And her calendar was on her phone. A great tool to have. And it is because it's easy to take, it's easy to have with you, and it can go with you just about anywhere you go. It will fit in a purse, it can fit in a pocket, and it's a great tool if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, change to something else. I've gone to paper. This one's smaller. The one I've gotten for next year is even bigger. Didn't plan on it being quite so big, but I needed a year and a half calendar because I'm trying to get back. I went from a June to July, and I'm trying to get back to December, January, December one. So I needed a year and a half to take me in between. So it's a lot bigger and thicker than this one. But after a year, I'll be back there. So why do we need a calendar? Because, and first off, find ones you like. If it's your phone, if it's a paper one, like this. The problem with one on the wall, it's great for everybody to see, but you can't take it with you from room to room, or you can't have it on the car seat beside you when you go to the doctor's office, or you can't have it in your pocket when you're someplace and you need to talk with someone and find out when you can go to lunch or when you can find time for yourself. So find one you like. I always used to say to have one you can carry with you, and that would be the phone for most people. I now don't carry it with me. First off, my phone even in itself is heavy, and I have neck and shoulder issues. So I've gone to putting it in the paper notebook, and when I know I need to have a date, I'll either write the note on my calendar, on my phone, a note, or I'll stick this calendar in the seat beside me in the car. If it's going to be a really busy time, I have a bigger bag, and I stick it in the bigger bag with my computer, and I know I have it with me. But having that calendar with you, something you'll like and you'll use. I ordered 3 calendars before I found that third one I really liked. The first one was just 3 months, and I knew that was never going to do the job. I thought I found something bigger. Then I ordered a bigger one. It was supposed to lay flat, and it didn't. And I really like something that lays flat. I'll tell you why in a minute. But I want you to have something where you can write down what you're doing. So first off is to find a calendar you like. It's mid-year right now when I'm doing this. You may be watching it at the beginning of the new year, but there are mid-year calendars out there that go 18 months or go from mid-year to mid-year. But find something you like. If you're using your phone, it's easy to start anytime you want to. And then ask God to guide you through your day. That's one of the things. Once you get things on the calendar, don't overschedule yourself. People say, I'm exhausted. I have no time to rest. Well, how much are you trying to do? Well, I have this. but we can learn to balance it out. I want you to not keep everything in your head, but to write it down. So what do we need to write down? You've talked about all these priorities. I want you to write in your calendar all your major priority items. For me, I need to write down. I've started a writing habit that I'm writing. I'm trying to write 5 days a week, usually first thing in the morning. Sometimes it gets moved up a little later. And so I had to write the word write on my calendar for every day that I was going to do it and when I was going to do it, because otherwise I didn't get to it. I needed that visual reminder. Some people will set a timer on their phone to do things, and that will help them. I also need to write down whether I'm going to go exercise outside, go for work in the yard, whether I'm going to go to my line dancing class. So I need to write on my exercise. I have not had to write down my Bible study time for my daily Bible study for a long time because I've made a habit of doing it at breakfast. Now you may need to write it in because you don't have a habit. And so this is a way to see it every day. That sight, the object of writing it, the sight of seeing it, the fact of reviewing it multiple times a day, lets you get these habits in place. Habits come because we repeat things over and over again. So when you get in those priority things, you've got in your Bible study time, you've got your church time on there, you've got down when you're doing some exercise. Is that on your calendar? Do you know when you're going to do it? Are you getting out doing something physical at least 3 times a week? Might be gardening, it might be walking the kids to school, might be taking the dogs for a walk every day or twice a day. But don't try to keep it all in your head. Write it down. Why? Because particularly as we get a little more seasoned, we don't remember everything. But when I had kids in the house, I couldn't remember all the stuff either. They bring home a schedule for this, they bring home from school, they bring home one from the church group, youth group, they bring home one from their sports team, and we had all those schedules. And I need to get them all in one place so I could see what was going to happen. Because then we could start to plan my day. I could start to coordinate it with my husband. We could start to coordinate car drives and when things needed to happen with the kids. We could determine when was a good time for a vacation and when it wasn't. But do that. Write it down. Write down those important things on your calendar. Write down when you're going to have a date with your husband. Remember, it's inside or outside of the house, doesn't matter, but you need some time, a couple hours set aside once a week to spend time at least with him. Write down when you're going to church, when those meetings are, when the community meetings are, when you volunteer to do things. Get it on the calendar so you know what's happening. Many times people have to set alarms on their phones, and that's awesome if you need that. I prefer having it in front of me. And so I'll lay my calendar out on my desk, on my chair beside me, on the kitchen counter, where I can look at it over and over and over again. Here, I'm going to flip to this month. And I actually have a paper clip for the month. I don't know if you can see the paper clip right there. And then I have one for the week. I like when it has both a month and a week in it because then you can see those different types of things because we can spread things out over the month and we can spread things out over a week. Part of doing our priorities, we want to be able to keep them all, see if we can do at least cover each one within a week. We'll talk more about that in another lesson here, but we want to see what we're doing. Keep your calendar where you can look at it. It's at your phone. Put it beside you. Put it on your desk. Put it beside your computer. Put it on. Keep it where you can see it. Keep it in the purse. Keep it on the kitchen counter if you're in the kitchen all the time. That's where I kept my calendar for when the boys were little because I always need to be walking in the kitchen, getting them food, doing the wash. The wash machine was almost always really close to the kitchen, so you're walking back and forth. And then as you do something, check it off that calendar. Do you know they've actually found out that you release endorphins by checking it off? Maybe you get the same thing by coloring a different color on your calendar, on your phone calendar. I could never quite get the same endorphins running through by checking something off or figuring how to delete it or something on my calendar. It just kind of stayed there, and I never got that satisfaction of going, I did it. Another reason I like paper. Maybe you don't. Maybe you figured that out. Cross it off and then or delete the task when it's done so you know you've completed it. And then move your unfinished task that you didn't do to another day. I've had to keep all kinds of lists to how to keep my priorities going and how to do this. And I'll do more when I do a whole series on priorities for life or living by your priorities which will be coming in the future. It's a goal of mine to be able to have this as a course you can teach. I can teach and show you how to do all these little things that are involved in it. But in this one, I wanted you to make sure you've made time for yourself. I have a space on there where I write down coffee with a girlfriend. I don't know who it's going to be coffee with yet that day, but I plan it out, and so I can continue to contact. That was one of the things we talked about, making time for you. Don't give up when interruptions and surprises happen. Remember, your time management will improve over time. Here's some other things I like to keep on my calendar. This is part of the reason why a phone didn't work so well for me. I like to keep my menu there. Why? Because it keeps it constantly before my eyes. And I know what's coming for lunch. I know what's coming for dinner. That was part of keeping your housework simple. Because when you know what you're going to have for the meal, you know what you're having. But I write it on my calendar because sometimes it changes. Like this week, we're going out of town for the weekend. And I needed to be able to write down how the meals were going to be different this week. I had food out on Sunday, defrosted from the freezer for a Sunday dinner, and we went out with friends. So that food is still in the refrigerator. I needed to take my calendar and write it in so I could plan when to have that. Now, if you're writing on your phone, it's really easy to change things. Go through and change the menu for the day and what all that's going to be. For most people, that is. For me, it got a little more complicated. I like to repeat things, so I had to repeat on it, and it was hard to take it off. But it may not be for you. I suggest, if you're using paper, that you use a pencil with a big eraser. More often than not, I will wear out this eraser before I ever lose the pencil part. Okay. Why? Because life changes. And we need to adjust for the changes God makes into our schedule. He's the one that will bring these surprises into our life. He's the one that allows for interruptions. He's the one that makes things come out to be different. I was sitting in my office yesterday working on a project, and God kept prompting me to call my girlfriend. You need to call Terry. You need to call Terry. You need to call Terry. And when I did, it was the time she really needed to talk to me. I didn't know that at the time. She said, "Oh, Joyce, I needed to talk with you." And how did I know that? God was prompting me by the Holy Spirit to call Terry. And that made a change in my schedule. She had some illness going on, and so I needed to be able to write down on the next couple of weeks to call her each week. Why? Because I'll forget if I don't write it down. I need to stick with Harry and spend some time with her and pray with her and listen to her situation and love on her as she goes through this. But without a calendar, I won't remember. Maybe you will, but most of us don't remember. So let me go over these 10 steps for a successful calendar. First off, find one you like. Try the different ones. I prefer something you can take with you, because that's why one on the wall doesn't usually work so much, or one on your desktop. Although some people do like, because they're at their desk every day, they like something on their desk so they can see it, the big old flat blotter ones. And you may like that. That's not going to work, though, if you go from your desk at home, either at home or in the office, and then you're going home, you're not going to have that at home. And many times I found when I leave my office, my brain's still working on those issues and those problems or coming up with new ideas, and I need to be able to write them down someplace. So if you're not going to have that with you, then you're going to have to transfer things from one to another, and that's an extra step. What girl needs another step? We need to keep it simple so we can keep using it. Find something you like and you can use and that you can have with you, that you can move around with you wherever you go. Remember that as you look at it, you want to pray and ask God to guide you through your day. Don't overschedule yourself. This has been something I have worked at so hard and so long. And we'll talk more about this in another video. But keeping it so you have margins, keeping it at a pace where you can stay calm, where you can find that time to relax, you can find time to focus on the important people. Do you know we get less done when we're stressed, when we're worried, and we're anxious? So you want to keep it at an easier schedule. When you write it down, particularly when you look at it a whole month, you can say, oh, that's a really busy week. And then you know you need to plan the next week to be less busy. Or you can take something out of that week that's so busy. Keep your calendar where you'll look at it Move it around with you. Take it from place to place. Carry it with you. I know it's kind of, phone might be easy, a bigger calendar might not be so much, but it really does help me keep it where, even when I have it shut on the counter, I know I'll be talking with my husband as we're making dinner. I go, oh, I need to jot that down. I need to keep track of that. Cross things off or delete them on your phone as you complete them. Get that feeling of satisfaction of having done something. It also lets you know what you've done. Either do it as you complete it or do it at the end of the day. And check it out. I really find a success. I used to come to the end of the day and say, oh, but I didn't do this and I didn't do that, didn't do that. And I stopped looking at what I did do. Going back on the calendar and say, yeah, I did that. And yeah, I did that. And I did that. That gives me that feeling of satisfaction. One of the things to do it on your phone is you can complete them is possibly to change the color. You can make colored items on your thing and to change it to a color. Maybe you put it all gray when you've completed it. Move your unfinished tasks to another day or keep them on a separate list of what it is you have to do. I'm learning to keep some longer range plans in my calendar for my business and when they actually need to be done so I can know when I have free time and when I have to focus on things. It's really, that can be an art to learn how to juggle a business and home life, or homeschooling home life. I've done that. Or work outside the home. I talk to many women with that and coming back to their home life. Your time management will improve as you work at it. But first off, you need to be able to see what you have planned. Where's it going to happen? If you don't know where it's going to happen, then you probably won't get it done. Now, remember, there's different personalities in this. A mobilizer is probably going to want to have every single hour planned out exactly what they're going to do. I'm a stabilizer organizer, and having everything planned out makes me feel unsuccessful. So I tend to go with bigger chunks of time. I know the specific things that have to be in at a certain time, such as I always do when I always do my Facebook Lives for you, these video recordings for you. I know when those occur. And so I write them down so that they'll be at the same time. But other things in my life can fit around those. But we need to make sure we have those top priority things in our calendar, that it's not all filled up with other kinds of things. Don't give up when interruptions and surprises happen. Change it on your calendar. Take time each evening or each morning to change, or as you leave work, to change your calendar on your phone if you have it, or change it on your paper calendar and use that eraser. Change it around. Because God says we can order our steps, but He directs our path. And He'll tell us which way to go. And yes, He wants us to plan to use our time wisely, but He'll actually mold it into the direction He wants us to go. So some people say, well, why should I plan it at all? Because there's something that He just says, do what you know to do. Get it in there. Plan a time for dinner. We've talked about that. So other things I like to keep in my planner. I like to keep my menus in there. I keep a wardrobe plan either in this or in a separate folder so I know what I need to do. And if I need to go shopping for clothes, which clothes, I know what I need to get. I keep a weekly task list in there that I know what needs to be done each week, whether it's housework items or grocery shopping things. Sometimes I keep phone numbers in there. I now have gone more to keeping my phone number in my phone instead of on my paper calendar. So I do have those separately because I tend to use my phone separately from that calendar. If you have prayer requests, I will actually put in here on a certain day, pray for so-and-so when she has surgery, and different things like that. So I know what to do, or I'm praying for someone in particular. And that was the top 10. Find a calendar you like. Ask God to guide you through your day. Don't overschedule. Number 4, keep your calendar where you can look at it. 5, cross off and delete things so you feel that feeling of accomplishment. And that was 6. 7, moved unfinished tasks to another day. Remember, you can't do it all today. We'll always have more to do than we possibly can handle. Time management does improve with time over at number 8. Number 9, don't give up. God will bring surprises and interruptions to your day. So keep working with God to go along with the flow of what He has planned. And number 10, keep some of those additional things that you use on a regular basis, either on lists on your phone. I keep mine in Google Keep I make lists of things that I need to have there in my phone when I use that. And then I put the rest, particularly my business stuff, and some of my home management things are in here